Imagine this natural secret, something passed down for generations, believed to give almost superhuman endurance, real resilience in incredibly harsh places.
We're seeing this pop up across so many different cultures, aren't we? Siberian tribes, for instance, relying on it during tough hunts.
And Tibetan monks, needing focus and strength way up in the mountains.
Then you have Viking warriors, thinking it gave them extra strength for those long, dangerous sea voyages.
It wasn't just small groups either. Chinese emperors apparently sought it out. Russian soldiers used it against fatigue.
And even in traditional villages in Russia, people used it to fight off that deep winter exhaustion, the low moods that can come with it. The Greeks, too, Dioscorides wrote about it centuries back.
So from their viewpoint, this was more than just a plant. It was almost magical.
Yes, it often carried that weight, believed to grant exceptional strength, maybe longevity, or seen as some kind of powerful life booster. It was their intuitive solution for survival's demands.
A core part of their natural toolkit, their folklore.
And for a long time, we in the modern world might have just brushed these stories off. Interesting myths, but nothing more.
That ancient knowledge seemed almost forgotten, really overshadowed by modern science and medicine.
But this is where our deep dive gets really interesting. The ancients saw these effects, attributed them to perhaps magic, perhaps the divine.
But science started asking, well, why? Why did these plants appear to work so effectively?
And the answer wasn't magic. It was biology. Deep, complex biological mechanisms. The laboratory essentially began confirming what people had observed for centuries.
Okay, let's get specific. The plant is Rhodiola Rosea, and science calls it an adaptogen. What does that actually mean for your body?
An adaptogen helps your system adapt, become more resilient to stress, both physical and emotional stress.
How does it do that, though? What's the mechanism?
What the research points to is its effect on the stress response system, specifically the HTA axis. You can think of that as the command center for stress involving the brain and hormonal glands.
So it influences that central system.
Yes, it helps regulate it. It appears to decrease the amount of cortisol, your main stress hormone, that gets released, or at least blunt its impact.
And this isn't just theory.
No. Studies show this translates to real reductions in feelings of stress, anxiety, and especially helpful for depression linked to ongoing stress or just low energy states. Burnout, too. It supports your coping mechanisms.
So it's hitting the physical stress cascade, not just the mental feeling. The sources also talk a lot about energy, about physical performance, feeling less tired.
Precisely. And it's not just covering up fatigue. It seems to work deeper at the cellular level.
Deeper how?
The sources suggest it increases ATP production. ATP is the actual energy currency your cells use. It also seems to improve how the mitochondria, the cell's power generators, function.
So better energy production and use within the cells themselves.
Making your body more efficient. This leads to less perceived effort when you exercise, better endurance, more stamina. It even helps with recovery after you've pushed yourself hard.
That makes sense. And you mentioned oxygen.
Yes, enhanced oxygen utilization, which ties directly back to why it was traditionally used for fatigue and even altitude sickness.
That altitude connection is fascinating ancient observation matching up with the science of oxygen efficiency. What about the brain? Mental clarity.
The strong connection there too. The sources consistently mention improvements in focus, concentration, mental clarity, and memory.
Any idea how it supports cognitive function?
It seems linked to specific compounds in rhodiola, things like rosavin, salicylate, tyrosol. These influence important brain chemicals: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine.
Chemicals critical for mood, motivation, focus.
And it seems to offer some neuroprotective benefits as well.
Okay, so if we pull all this research together, what would you say are the top 3 standout benefits the sources really highlight?
Based on the evidence, the first is definitely improved stress resilience and mood. That regulation of cortisol on the HPA axis is key for easing stress, anxiety, and related depression.
Then number 2, clearly tied to its historical uses, is that boost in energy and physical performance. Less fatigue, better endurance, better recovery.
And the third one that comes through strongly is the support for cognitive function. That means better focus, concentration, and memory.
It really is quite something, looking back, how these ancient cultures, through sheer observation, grasped the power of this plant.
Their beliefs about strength and resilience weren't just stories. They were interpreting real biological effects in the language they had available.
What might have been dismissed as simple folklore is now being explained, validated by biology.
It's not magic, but it is a remarkable plant with scientifically verified benefits. And these benefits are incredibly relevant for the kinds of pressures we face today.
Another verified legend goes into the archive. It makes you think, doesn't it? How this ancient understanding, now viewed through a scientific lens, might offer us ways to build our own resilience against modern life's challenges.